now. Howdy. Welcome to our Create a Course in Canvas training offered by the Office for Academic Innovation. My name is Isabel Elizalde Alaman, and I'm happy to go through this training with you to show you how to create a course in Canvas. This training is geared towards those that already have access to Canvas and will be teaching. You will have a few things that are already in there for you and a few things that are not included already for you. We'll walk through those things together during this training. So let's go ahead and get started with this session. So a little bit of housekeeping for this during this session. If you have any questions, please send them to us via the chat. You can access the chat on the bottom of the Zoom control panel. So down here, chat will be open to you. If you have any questions and you're not in the actual Zoom session right now, you can feel free to either join us for office hours. Our office hours are going to be every day, Monday through Friday, from 2 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can find the link to that on our website. Other than that, you're welcome to also put in a ticket to us. Let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes of this training session. A lot of what I'm going to be doing today in this training is going to be using this PowerPoint that I have shared with everyone, as well as going through Canvas itself. So since I'll be doing that a lot, I will ask you to please log into Canvas, since you will be able to either follow along with me as I'm doing this, or I'll give you a certain point in time, kind of like a note for you to pause and complete the activity and then come back to this training session. So the way to do that is the way to get to Canvas is you're going to go into a web browser. You're going to go to LMS.TAMU.EDU. And then on the top right-hand corner, you're going to click on Login. From there, you'll be prompted to log in with your TAMU net ID and password, same where you're used to with all the other A&M logins. Once you're logged in, you're going to see this. This is going to be your dashboard for Canvas. We're going to go into this and into actual courses and designing some things in just a second, but I'm going to go ahead and go back to my presentation. So while I'm here on this LMS.TAMU.EDU website, I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about this resource that we have curated for you. On this resource, we have a lot of different information that you may find beneficial or useful for creating a course, managing a course, building whatever it is to you in respect to Canvas. On this Make the Move tab, we have information on if you're going to be making the move from Blackboard to Canvas. We have different information on what migrates, what doesn't migrate, so on and so forth. Catching the Wave has information on how to get started in Canvas, so what things you can do now as you're starting to get access to the system. Tools is going to have information on any of the LTIs that we have integrated into Canvas. LTIs are those tools that are currently integrated. We have information on the ones right now that are in there in the pre-pilot, as well as any other ones in the future that will be added down the road. So that's something we recommend going into if you want information on that. Our response to COVID and the what we did to help everyone migrate online immediately were created through this Keep Teaching and Keep Learning resources. This is the new home for those resources, Keep Teaching and Keep Learning respectively. So you can access any information that we sent out during that time frame. And then last but not least, we have our training and support. This is where you more than likely have already gone to register for this training or view this training. But access to our office hours is going to be on this page somewhere, listed virtual office hours from 2 to 4 p.m. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to our presentation. Training outcomes. Hopefully by the end of this session, participants will be able to identify the components of the course template, modify the course homepage, and then modify a module overview and add learning materials. As a note, if you're teaching and you have a course that you will be teaching in, we have automatically included a template for you that you can start using and editing. I will be using that template a lot today during this training session, so you won't be necessarily building anything from scratch. But if you don't have a course where you have that template already included, you will have to build some things from scratch itself. I will be showing you both methods of how to do this, but keep in mind the first method I'm going to go through this is using the template. Second method I did go into is going to be building from scratch. So next, I'm going to go into the next part of this. As an overview for this training session, I will be going over the basics of creating a course. If you haven't already, I really recommend for you to go through some of our other training that we have available, such as our Growing with Canvas self-paced asynchronous course, Preparing for the Move to Canvas, where I talk a lot about these things in detail of why you need them, and then our Canvas orientation, where we go in depth of how to navigate Canvas. We're not going to talk a lot about how to navigate Canvas in this training, but we're just going to be jumping into some of these terms already. So that's just something to keep in mind within this session. So first things first, a home page. As you access your course shell for your new course that you will be developing, the first thing you're going to see when you get into that is going to be a home page. Canvas allows us to easily create a welcoming home page, and we've created this home page already for you in your courses right now. So what you're going to see is you're going to more than likely see something like a course image, a cover image. You're going to have some links to important areas of your courses. You're going to see some instructor information, a welcome message. Whatever this looks like for you, we've included some templates, template language already. So let's go ahead and go into a template now to show you what that looks like. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard, and from my dashboard, I'm going to access my course. So here's my training course that I'm going to be using. And like I mentioned before, you're going to have this template automatically given to you and input into your course right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to modify this template throughout this training session, but piece by piece, I'm going to show you things that you may modify or choose to modify as you go through building that course. So first thing I want y'all to focus on is this home page, right? How do I modify this first thing that students see? The way I would do that is I would click on this top right-hand corner that says Edit. I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to go ahead and scroll down, make this bigger. The way I would make this our rich content editor bigger, and I'm going to go into that in a bit of what this is I would click on this, I never realized the name for it, 2x4 dots on the bottom right-hand corner. I'm going to click and drag, and this makes it bigger. It just helps me, gives me more real estate for my editing. But on this top layer right here, I see different settings and features I can include in my document. So this is things that you can, features you can apply to your content. It's called the Rich Content Editor. From here, you can do things like bold, italicize, put in different colors. You can mess with the justification, put bullets, some indents. If you ever have any questions within whatever these icons mean, you can hover over them and it tells you what it means. You can put links, you can put images, you can put media such as videos, you can put documents, and then you can always click these three dots and put even more things. So if you have tools like equations or tables or whatever it is that you need, you can do that all from this Rich Content Editor. This is a very fancy tool that you can use as well. One thing that I really want to highlight and point out to you is the ability to check for accessibility in any content you must have. To check for accessibility, you can go ahead and click on the accessibility checker on the bottom of this, your real estate, as I called it earlier. There's this circle with a person in it. I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and it checks my accessibility for me and tells me if there's any issues within it. You can always do this with any content you are creating or modifying as you see fit, just to make sure that your students have the best content available to them. You go ahead and exit on that and move on with what I need to do. Things that you might modify in this course homepage is going to be first and foremost your title. So I'm teaching Math 151, sections 500 through 505. That is my course name. I can put whatever course I want to put here in my title as I see fit. Other than that, under this welcome heading, I can add a short introductory message such as, welcome, my name is so-and-so. We're going to be going over X, Y, and Z. This class is made for freshmen, sophomores, whatever that looks like. Anything that I would consider to be a instructor introductory welcome message. I can even include a video in here. So if I already have a video introducing myself and who I am, I can embed that into here as well if I needed to do so. Whatever it is I see fit that fits for my welcome message can be done here. I will recommend to go through this entire template page by page, area by area, because we do have a lot of this lorem ipsum language. Lorem ipsum language is stuff that we put into templates or documents that acts as like a filler like a place to notify you that you will have to make changes to this. We do recommend to go through every single section in this template before you publish your course and publish your content, so you can make sure you don't have any more of this filler language in there that requires your modification. So you would make any changes to this as you see fit. After that, you won't make any changes to your course navigation as this is already made out for you. But what does this do? So we have these 4 images in your home page. These 4 images are links to areas within your course. So for example, as a student, if I click on the course overview, it's going to take me to that course overview page. Same thing with course resources, same thing with the learning modules, and then same thing for help and support. We've already included these links for you that take you to the specific areas. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on Save for this, just for now. After I click Save, it's going to save all the changes that I've made to my course homepage. So that's the change I had made. But once I'm getting ready to make any changes to any future content or try these areas out, I can actually go ahead and click on them. And it takes me to that page. It's kind of like a hyperlink or a shortcut to this page itself. So I'm going to go over this course overview in a little bit, but I want to show you how to access that, not from the home page. So a way that you can access this is you can click on this left-hand side where it says Modules. I'm going to go ahead and click on this Modules course area. And I'm going to show you a little bit more about that template itself. So in this template, you have an instructor module that gives you more information on how to use this template. There is, so specifically how to customize it. So I'm kind of going through some of the information presented in this module. Also some icons, banners, and button options. So we have already given you a catalog of icons, headers, footers, whatever this looks like, that you can use and customize throughout your course. These icons give you the ability to kind of customize and create a visual course for your students to let students know what it is they need to do with this information. So you can use this content as you see fit. You can customize your home page further. You can customize your buttons further. However it is you see and want to use this area, you're more than welcome to do that. I'm going to go back to modules. And that's this instructor module. You will not be publishing this content to your students. This is only for you to use. So if you're done with all this and you don't want to have it in here and accidentally publish it, you're always welcome to delete this as you see fit. Next, what you're going to see is right below that is you see the first module that students are going to have access to. This module that we've been put into the course template is called the Start Here module. So after they've seen the home page, students will more than likely come to the Start Here area that has access to the course overview. So earlier when I was in the home page and I clicked course overview, it sends me to this exact page right here. I'm going to talk a little bit about this module setup for a little while, but each module, if you think of it, each folder, each chunk is going to have these headers. So this is the main header. So think of it like the title of the folder. Canvas uses modules to separate and organize content, and that's going to be this, for example, this Start Here, and then this week 1, right? Those are going to be your first modules that you have in this template. You also have headers within the module itself. So for example, this course information and Canvas information are what you call text headers within a module. These text headers in a module allow you to kind of organize your content and structure it in a visually appealing way. Think of it like sub-modules or subfolders in a content. I'm organizing this content and I have it also indented so that it allows me to kind of visually organize my content in a structure that makes more sense to me. Because this is what students will be seeing as well. They will be seeing these headers and this content in this format. So what I want to do now is after I've edited my home page, first thing I want you to edit after that is going to be the course overview. So I'm going to go into this course overview, and the way I go into it is I'm going to click on the name to access it. From there, I can do the same thing I did to my home page. I will click on the Edit button on the top right-hand corner. And now I'll be able to modify and edit any of this content. So now what I'm going to do is the same thing I did earlier. I'm going to click on these 2x4 dots and I'm going to scroll, drag and hold to make this a little bit bigger for me to work out of. But I could rename this, so about Math 151. I can make I can customize this information. So as I said earlier, make sure you go through all this and remove any lorem ipsum language and include your own language. You might find that some of this information from your course overview in your syllabus. You can copy and paste that information and put it here. Same thing with learning objectives, expectations, grading scheme. Any of this information probably is going to be in your syllabus already. So if you want, you can either copy and paste or refer to the syllabus. So for example, if you'll be using the syllabus page, describe what can be accessed here, what can be accessed there, so on and so forth. So after you've updated all this information and you're done and ready, you can click on Save. And save. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to go into detail of the syllabus in this training, but what I want to show is that some of this information is going to be in the syllabus as well, like your PDF copy of your syllabus. In Canvas, we have the syllabus tool that's automatically added to your course navigation. I'm going to go ahead and access that syllabus tool really quickly. This is the syllabus tool itself. On the top, you can always link to your syllabus, or you can copy and paste the information from your syllabus and include it here. The way you would attach your documented syllabus, something we all already have, you're going to click on Edit on the top right-hand corner. You're going to click on these three dots, and you're going to click on the document icon, and then you can upload document. From there, you can attach your PDF or whatever it is that you need to for your course. And that you can add all that. We also have some information on how to do some of these things. So in every single page, we have links and references to links of things you can do in your content. So if you ever have any questions, you can review this. After you have reviewed it and made any applicable changes, please go ahead and remove all this because you don't need to show this to your students. After you removed all that, you would delete it and then update syllabus. I won't delete it since I haven't made any changes to my syllabus, but another thing that you can do is if you have all your dates in your, so let's say you've already built out all of your assignments and you have all of your due dates already put onto all of your assignments, those will show up here under the course summary. So think of it like your schedule. It automatically creates a schedule or a table with all those assignments as well. Other things it will do is it will show any of your weights for your courses. If you haven't already, we really recommend coming to our creating assessments in Canvas training, or we also recommend to come to this week's training that we're going to start offering, which is setting up your gradebook in Canvas. That's where we start talking about what these weights mean and how to set up your course to have those course weights. So that's just a teaser for that training. After I've updated my syllabus, I can go ahead and update. Same thing with my course overview. I would go ahead and update that as well. So I'm going to go back to my training presentation, make sure I caught everything, modify homepage, rich content editor. Now what I'm going to want you to do is I'm going to want you to try modifying that homepage in your Canvas course as you can. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a chance to modify that homepage, make edits, remove some of those lorem ipsums, make any modifications that you see fit, review your syllabus, and make sure you have any of that syllabus information up to date. Go ahead and take this time. I'm going to pause this. You can pause this as well, and then we're going to come back to this in a bit. Okay, welcome back. Thank you for taking time to complete that activity in your course. Let's go ahead and move on with this training session. So anatomy of a module, if you did have the chance to, and if you haven't, I recommend reviewing this video or this training again, is in our preparing for the move to Canvas training. We talk a lot about things you can do to kind of fix your course right now as before you actually make the move to Canvas, and this is why this is so important. At this time, now you can start building out this content and building out anything that you've already created previously, copying and pasting and put it into your course easily. So the anatomy of a module, the components that we recommend for you to have in each individual module, is going to be a module overview, learning objectives, learning materials, and learning activities. In this training specifically, we're going to show you how to create the top 3 things. So learning objectives and module overview go hand in hand. They're the same thing. And then we're going to go into how to add learning materials a little bit. For any information on activities or assessments, please come to our creating assessments in Canvas training. So a module, I kind of talked to you about this earlier, about the structure of a module in Canvas. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to this. And the structure of this, as it's seen fit, is you're going to have that header, you're going to have the content, header content in your template. But I want to show something else about this. So something else I want to show you is, how do you know what type of content is in your module? So the way I would know this information is I would check on the icon to the left of the content itself. So right here I see this icon, it's a page, so that tells me that this is a page. If I see these chat bubbles, it tells me it's a discussion. Other icons you may see, so if I go to our week 1 content, I'll see this page with a pencil, that means it's an assignment. Again, that chat bubbles, that means it's a discussion, and then the rocket means it's a quiz. Each content type is going to have its own individual, or assessment type is going to have its own individual icon associated with it. So just keep that in mind so you can kind of understand how this content structure is working through. So any content that you would include in your course that is going to be Word or text or whatever that looks like, you're going to create a page to do so. So all of these right here are going to be pages. They're automatically created for you. Same thing with down here. These are all pages where you'll be adding your content to deliver to your students. And the assessments will be created as well from within the module too, as assessments. So as I go back to my presentation, I already talked to you a little bit a little while ago about the Start Here module. So that's going to be that module that you see at the very beginning, right? You're going to see that course information, Canvas information, so how to use Canvas. This Canvas information is going to be especially important for the next, I would say, about 2 to 3 years. Reason being is we will still at some point, up until eCampus is deprecated. Some students may be in Canvas, some may be in eCampus. We have to be supporting both at the same time. So if you're teaching in Canvas, another professor that the students have may be teaching in eCampus. So they might still have some getting used to with this information. So this Canvas information on how to get started, those tips is going to be especially important for students to how to navigate Canvas. Other than that, you will have some information that you will include about your course specifically in this Start Here module. For example, that course overview that I went into earlier. Same thing with about your instructor. So I would put information about myself in there. Course resources, so maybe if I feel like they need a textbook, if I feel like they need access to a third-party tool, like if I have a textbook resource that I require them to create an account for, whatever that looks like, I can include that in my course resources. And then a course question board. We call this kind of like an FAQ board, or anything like that, where students can post and respond to other students and yourself regarding questions about the course. So that's all this information that's included in the Start Here module. If you feel like there's something missing that you typically include in your Start Here module, an example of that maybe is like a syllabus quiz or something like that. I'm not going to go into how to create the assessment, but you can always add stuff to these template modules already. The way you would add new content, so stuff that's not already built into your template, is you would go ahead and on this header, so this Start Here header, click on the plus sign, and then you can add the content that you would like to do. You can either add an assignment, a quiz, file, page, discussion, text header, URL, or external tool, whatever it is you see fit. If I needed to add a syllabus quiz, I would add quiz, right? That's something that's very common in an online course, is to have a quiz on the syllabus to make sure students are actually read through that content. Other things is maybe you will need to add a new page. So you already have a page that you have in your existing courses in eCampus, but it's not reflected here. You can create a new page as you see fit. So you can do all of that from within the Start Here module as well. So I'm going to go back to the presentation to make sure I've covered everything. In a little bit, what I'm going to give you guys the chance to do is modifying that course overview. Once again, how to do that, you're going to access the course overview. You're going to click on Edit. And then you're going to make modifications using the rich content editor. So I'm going to go back to this presentation. Now what I want you to do is in your course, it's going to look a little different than it does in mine because I've already made this modification once. But if I go back to my modules, and if I go to this, under the Start Here, so let's pretend my Start Here module is beautiful and it's all edited and done. I'm done. I don't have to access this anymore. But I can go on to my week 1. In your template, if you haven't made any modifications to it, you're going to see week 1, it's going to say like title or theme here. What I can do is on the right-hand corner, I'm going to click on these 3 dots. I'm going to click on Edit. And then I can make any modifications as I see fit. So you can, I'm going to talk about all these other things in later training, but you can rename this as you need to. So mine is an introduction to limits, so I'm going to leave it as that. And then after I'm done, I can click Update Module, and it will update my header, my module header, to be reflective of what I need it to be. So that's how you would rename a module. Next, what you would do is you would go through this module, and the same thing we did earlier is you'd go through each one of these things and make updates or changes to it. I'm going to go back to my presentation to make sure I'm following what I need to do. But what I'm going to give you all the chance to do in a little bit is you're going to modify that course overview in the Begin Here or Start Here module, whatever it is you renamed it to if you needed to. Welcome Begin Here module. And then you can start modifying that course overview, and then you can start modifying the name of your week 1 module. I'm going to go ahead and leave this up for you here. I'm going to go back to my Zoom session and give you guys a quick second to try this out. Go ahead and pause this or review it as you see fit, and complete the activity. Welcome back. I hope you're able to modify that course overview, rename the week 1 module. Well, if you don't and you have any questions on that, please let us know by either calling us, contacting our service desk, or coming to our online office hours. So I'm going to go ahead and move on with this training session. Now let's start talking about modifying that week 1 content. So I'm going to go back into Canvas. And week 1 content, I do have some of this information provided to me in my module template. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and access this week 1 overview and to-do list. And from here, I can make any modifications to this as I see fit, the same way I did for my course overview on my home page. The way I would do that is I would click on this pencil icon on the top right-hand corner, click Edit, make any modifications. So I would remove any of this lorem ipsum, remove any of these italicized, kind of replace it with my own module overview. If you have any questions on what the components of a module overview are, please review our Preparing Your Course for Canvas training as we talk in depth of what that looks like. But you can copy and paste anything you've created from that training, or if you already have this existing content in your course, you'd copy and paste, make changes. Same thing with the to-do list. We recommend, and the way you saw in Canvas, is that it's a very linear progression of content. You're going to want students more than likely to review a presentation before they complete a homework assignment and before they complete a quiz. Create that same hierarchy in this to-do list. That hierarchy will tell students what order it is you want students to complete assessments and assignments in your course, as well as the content. So you would include that same hierarchy, that same progression here as you would in your course. So that being said, it may be easier if you create all of your content first before you create your overview, so that you make sure you have all your content in the order you need to, and then you revisit your overview. Totally fine, whichever way seems to work for you works however you want to do so. After you've made any edits and changes to this overview, you would go ahead and click on Save. I'm going to go back to Modules to see what's next in my module area. But here's my overview and to-do list. I would make those modifications to that area, and then I could add my presentation. So next on my list to add my presentation is I would go into my week 1 presentation page. Same thing as earlier, I can go ahead and click on Edit. This kind of gives you a little bit of a rundown of what you can include in a page itself. You can embed videos such as YouTube videos or Vimeos or whatever it is you need to do so. If you had a PowerPoint, you can attach that PowerPoint by clicking on this page document icon, and then you can upload document as you see fit. You can replace any of this. You can put any information as you see, as you need to for your content that's called, that considered your presentation. And then once you're done, you would click on save. So that's how you would add any learning materials to your content areas. So I'm going to go back into my modules. And that's how you would do that. Same thing with content page. Maybe you had something that you wanted to do that was supplemental resources, something that's not included in this template automatically. Well, the way you would do that is the same way I mentioned to you about the start here and adding that quiz. But if I wanted to add additional content, the way I would do that is click on this plus sign, click on page, and I'll click on new page, give that page a name, whatever, like maybe week 1. Additional resources. And then I would add item, and that would add the item to my week 1. On the very bottom, I can click and drag and add that wherever I need to do that. Another thing I wanted to show you is that by default, there are no indents. There is no hierarchy within this. If I wanted to, so as you see here, I have this course header, this text header that has the indent all the way to the left, but these are indented 1 over. The way I can kind of keep this hierarchy in place and keep that consistent look and feel is I can then make modifications to this area by clicking on edit and then increasing the indent, and now everything's indented together under that weekly overview header, right? So that's something to know. Another thing is that by default, all of your content is unpublished. What does that mean? So unpublished is the term that Canvas uses to mean that it's not available to students. If I publish my content, I will be able to then have this content available to my students. I'm going to go into that in a little bit, but just keep in mind that by default, this is unpublished. Okay, so I would then make any changes as I needed to for this week 1 content. Let's say I would make modifications to my overview, my presentation, my content page, my resources. I would then come to the creating assessments in Canvas training to make modifications to any of these areas, my assessments for this module. And then let's say I'm ready to move on to creating my module 2. By default, we've only included 1 module in your template. The way you would add new modules is you would go ahead and scroll up. On the top right-hand corner, you would click plus module. So for this, I want this to have the same look and feel to my existing module. So I would call this week 2 limits as functions. I'm going to talk about all these in a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and just click add module. What that does is it adds a brand new blank module shell at the bottom of my course. Now what I can do is I can either duplicate some of this content because I already have that structure that I like, or I can create brand new content from scratch. For this purpose, and this is something that we recommend, is to keep that same structure along with your content that you used in your week 1 module to be reflected in your week 2 modules, and so on and so forth. So first off, I'm going to create this text header. So the way I create a brand new text header is on this right-hand side. I'm going to click on this plus, and then I'm going to click on add, and then right next to that, I'm going to click on text header. And I'm going to call this weekly overview. I don't need an indent, but I'll create add item, and it adds that weekly overview header. Other than that, I can start adding some of this other content. So for example, let's say I need to duplicate this week 1 overview and to-do list and add it into my week 2. I would, on the right-hand side, click on these 3 vertical dots, click on duplicate, and it adds a duplicate of this. What I now can do is I can drag and drop and move this content over to different areas. So what I can do is drag, click and drag, and move this to my week 2 area. Now what I would do is I can go ahead and access this, click on edit, and then make those modifications to this week 2 overview. So for example, I would rename this to week 2. I would remove the copy and just leave it as that. Make any modifications using that same structure I originally used. Make any modifications to this. So instead of week 1 lecture, it's going to say week 2 lecture. I want you to read chapters 2 to 3. so on and so forth. Once I'm done, I would click on Save. Now we see this new option that we didn't have before. We have Save and Publish. As I told you earlier, by default, any new content that you added is not published. So what this means is it's not available to students until you say it's available to students. So I can either save, which this means it will make that content area automatically available to students, or I can click Save and Publish. Sorry, other way around. Saving will create a draft for my assignments, for my assessments, for my content, whatever that looks like. I would click on Save, and that creates a draft of all of my content, and it then allows me to make it not available to students. Or I can create it and save and publish automatically. What this means is that my students will automatically have access to this content. And for this example, I'm going to go ahead and save, since I'm not ready to publish this module yet to my students. So I'm going to go ahead and save. Now I'm going to go back to my modules and scroll down, and nothing of this is created that is already published for my students. The way I can tell it's not published is I will see this circle with a line through it, kind of like that no smoking signal. If it's published, it will have this green circle with a check mark in it. That means it is published and available for my students to see. I would recommend creating all this content and publishing later once you are sure it is ready for your students to view. So for example, I would keep on making any duplicates of my content, click and drag, make any changes, so go into this, make any changes as I see fit. And let's say I would have been doing this after I watched this presentation, so after this training, and I'm not ready, I'm not ready to create my assignments yet, because every module is going to have different assignments. A really cool thing is if you do not have assignments in your modules yet. So for example, in this first module, I do have assignments in here, but since I don't have any assignments in this module, I can go ahead and start duplicating some of these modules. The way I could do that is click on these 3 vertical buttons and then click on Duplicate. And that will duplicate every single thing in that module. Pretty neat. I don't have to go in and start creating and making manual things. I can create my modules, all of 15 at once, without my assessments, and then add the assessments later as I feel like they need assessments or assignments or whatever that looks like for me. So that's something that you can easily do to duplicate your content and make more copies of it. So at this time, what I'm going to ask you all to do is to start creating those new modules, make any modifications to your existing week 1 module, create new modules, start duplicating content, start creating content, and then we're going to talk about some other things in a little bit. So go ahead and try that out in your course. I'm going to go ahead and move to this. Try those out, try the first 2 out, and then we're going to talk about those prerequisites and requirements in just a second. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you're able to go through some of those assignments and activities in your own course. I'm going to go ahead and go back to some of the things I skipped over. But after you've created all of your content, I want to talk to you about this idea of prerequisites, requirements, and locking a module. So for example, I have this Start Here module. What I can do is I can add requirements for my students. So let's say I want to require them to go through all of this content before they receive the next content. The way I can do that is I can click on these 3 vertical dots next to the module. I can click on Edit. I can, if I wanted to, lock this module. I wouldn't recommend locking your Start Here module, but you might want to do that for future modules. I can add prerequisites. This is the first module, so I won't add prerequisites to the Start Here. But next thing I could do is I can add requirements. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and click on Add Requirement. And then I have a few options. I can have students complete all of these requirements, and I can enable it that I want them to move through these in a sequential progression order, or I can have just one specific requirement. So for example, I want them to complete all of these requirements. I want them to go through a specific order, and then I just start telling you what are those requirements. So I want them to go through the course overview, and I want them to view it. They can either view it or mark it as done or contribute to the page. If I don't have the ability for them to contribute to the page, that's something that we can talk about at future trainings. But for this example, you can either have them view it, so as soon as they open it, it gives them credit that they viewed it, or I can have them mark it as done think of it like a checklist. I would have to have them actually mark it, they completed it. I'm going to have them mark it as done. I'm going to add the same thing, the way I just keep adding requirements. I can click add a requirement to add all of these. I just want them to view this, view that, view this, and then adding requirements. If you have assignments that you have them submit to, so for example, this is a discussion board, I can have them either view or contribute to the page. Contributing means that they've actually submitted something to the discussion. Viewing just means as soon as they open it, it will show up. This is not graded discussion. That is why you only see that option. After I've made all of my requirements, I would click update module. This is just the reason I get this, I got that pop up is because my students I've already made this module and course available to students. You won't see that error if you're just designing your course. But I would have all that, and then by default what's added is you now have this complete all items, so students will then see that they have to complete all the items before moving forward. Next, what I can do is in my week 1 introduction limits, I can go ahead and do the same thing, edit. I already have a few of these already added, so I'm going to go ahead and delete them for now. But let's say I don't want them to start week 1 until they've gone through the Start Here module. I can add a prerequisite. From there, it gives me all the options for the different modules, and I can require them to go through the Start Here module. I can also lock it until a certain date, so this gives more constraints to my students. So I don't want them to see week 1 until July. That doesn't make sense. Until, let's say, this isn't that's week 1. Go ahead and hit done. Start Here is that prerequisite, and then I can add requirements the same way I did for the previous. I want them to mark it as done. I want them to mark this as done. Same thing with content. This is a way that you can kind of force your students through your course content and actually force them to go through all of the content as necessary. So I just need them to view that item. I need them to mark that as done. And then the same thing for assignments. So I need them to either, so for example, an individual assignment, I want them to submit it. Same thing for the discussion, I want them to submit. And then for the quiz, this is something that's most common with quizzes because it doesn't require me grading. It doesn't force them to wait on me to grade since it's an automatic quiz for them. You can select quiz under view the item drop down. They can either view it, submit the assignment, or score at least. This means that I don't want them to move forward with the course content until they've scored at least a 10 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10, whatever that looks like for me. For this example, I'm just going to have them submit to the assignment, and after they've done that, update module, continue. And there's all of my prerequisites, and they see all these other constraints for them as well. So how do I know what my students can see and can't see, right? I know that they can't see it because of this publish, but how would I test this out? A good way to test any of this out is you can go back to your home page. And then on the right-hand side, you're going to click on Student View. This is a good way that you can test to see what students can and cannot see in your course content. So from here, this is all they can see. I'm going to go into the modules area. And I see that it has me mark as done. So that means that I have to physically go through all of this to mark as done. From here, it tells students that this is locked. And if I click on it, it tells me it's locked until a certain date. It tells me the prerequisites. It tells me all of this information that I can see that there's content there, but I can't actually submit or view any of this until those areas unlock. I also didn't have my week 2 modules published, so it won't show up here until I've published them. So that means everything I have and the way I wanted it to look like is true. It is working the way I need it to. So I'm going to go ahead and leave student view. I'm going to go back home. Nope, no, I'm going to go back to my modules area. It takes me back here. And then I can start talking about how to publish these individual modules. Once I'm ready, I can either publish the whole module. So the way I'd publish the whole module is in this header. Click on this circle with the line through it. and it publishes everything within that module. But let's say I'm not ready to show this one individual thing. I can unpublish that, and that's the way I would show that to my students. Or not show it to my students. So it's whatever I choose and see fit that I want students to see. I can go back again and go to student view and see if this is the way I wanted it to show up for my students. I'm going to go back into my presentation. I showed you how to lock. I showed you prerequisites and requirements. And then last but not least, I showed you publishing the modules. So go ahead and try that in your course really quickly as I walk through this next part of the training. So thank you for being here with us in this training. We want to tell you about our future training or any of our past training, just kind of things that we've talked about. So prepare for the move to Canvas. That is currently going to be on demand for the time being. You can watch that as you see fit. Using communication tools in Canvas. We're going to start having this training coming up soon, where we're going to talk to you about announcements, calendar, inbox, discussion boards, and Zoom. And then I mentioned a lot this creating assessments in Canvas training. This is where we deep dive into the assignments, quizzes, and discussions, those 3 integrated assessment types. So we recommend coming to our future training. Other resources we have available are LMS.TAMU.EDU, and then our Growing with Canvas training. You as a Summer 2 instructor or currently at where we currently are at, or any future training materials, training opportunities come through, you are automatically enrolled into the safe, self-paced, asynchronous course. It's available anytime. It's designed to help you go through and learn Canvas more. Other than that, we have some more resources for you, such as LMS.TAMU.EDU. You can also stop by our virtual office hours, Monday through Friday, 2 to 4 p.m. training, such as this one and many others. Any of our on-demand training videos and some of those quick bites of training are going to be available at our YouTube channel at TAMU, Office for Academic Innovation. Our Instagram, if you have an Instagram account, we recommend you following us there at TAMU_innovation. And then last but not least, our support desk that can answer your question. You can email us at aihelp@tamu.edu or give us a call at 979-458-3417. That is it for this training today. Thank you for being here with me, and we look forward to seeing you in future training sessions.